Hiya folks, if you think you've got problems, not as bad as me. Being woken up again this morning. Usually it's Bee Gees. Today it was The Lion Sleeps Tonight, you know, Wimmer Weta. Apparently one of my neighbours wants to play CD roulette and he's playing with the wrong man. I'm just debating what to give him. A bit of Nuclear Assault full blast, bit of Slayer full blast, or a bit of hardcore punk, garage punk full blast. It's getting crazy now. Once you got that Wimmer Weta, it's just driving me nuts. It's like an earworm. Anyway folks, the show today, and we'll talk about a couple of albums, or one album actually. And what it was, I was skifting through eBay about 3 weeks ago, and there was a CD, £4, and my eyes popped out, my head when I saw it. And that was this one. Now, the reason why it was very sentimental to me, this was the Stockholm broadcast of 1988. And the album he was performing was this album, and Tunnel of Love. And I actually went on this tour, but I didn't go to Stockholm. I'm not Greg the Egg. I didn't go to Sweden. I went to the Aston Villa one instead. That's an English Premiership football team who are doing pretty well in the table at the moment. And I saw the show, and what happened was, the Stockholm show was on the radio, and I bootlegged it like a lot of other people, because in them days you just stuck a tape in your record player and you could tape it. I owned a bootleg copy of the Stockholm show, and it was like a little memento of the show I'd seen. And basically I loved it. And when I saw this, I thought the sound quality would be a bit poor, but it's absolutely A1, it's fantastic. And it's not an overdub, it's actually at the show. And my eyes just popped out my head, as I said before. So what I thought I'd do today was just make a quick video, talk about the records. And yeah, and also before I forget, there is footage of the show, or I'm 99.9999% sure there's footage of the show I went to on YouTube. If I can find it, I will stick it below. It's either Aston Villa or Leeds. It's one of the UK shows. I will look after I've done this video, and you can have a sample of it yourself, because it'll be wherever below me. The only thing that's below me at the moment is my chair, otherwise there'll be an accident. Anyway, in 1987 folks, I was a young sprog. I had a fair big record collection by then, and this record was released. Basically Springsteen was riding high, because the previous record was Born in the USA, and that was a huge album for him, massive tour. They were packing out stadiums all over the world. And this record was recorded after Tunnel of Love. The problem with this record, it was a departure from the early Springsteen stuff. Bruce Springsteen was associated with blue-collar, Americana, rock sort of music. This album had more drums, synthesizers and stuff like that. But nonetheless, it's still a brilliant release. It's a fantastic album. Also, for the fact, you've got to bear in mind, what not a lot of people don't know about this record, Bruce Springsteen played all the instruments on this record. I think the drummer, I forgot his surname, Matt Weinberg or something, he played drums. Clarence Clemens, Patty Schaefer, and somebody else did vocals. And everybody moans about Tunnel of Love, the intro. It was basically Bruce Springsteen is not the world's greatest keyboard player, and that's how it materialised. So if you appreciate it for what it is, I think it's a fantastic intro. But Bruce Springsteen was actually playing all the instruments. You'll also notice as well he wore a suit, and that was virtually unheard of with the E Street Band. Because this is not an E Street Band release, so basically he wore a suit, and it was showing it was departure. Born in the USA would be the last E Street. I keep calling them E String Band for something. E Street Band recording until the Rising in 2001-2 that came out. So this was a Springsteen solo album, and make no mistake of that. Big hits of it was obviously Tunnel of Love, Brilliant Disguise, and there's another one as well, I forgot. Brilliant Disguise, Tunnel of Love, not Spare Parts, I'm going to talk about Tougher Than the Rest. They were the three big hits of it. And it was a very sort of brilliant Springsteen. It was very sort of skinned down, honest sort of record, talking about his love life. Basically, his marriage was in tatters. He was later to marry Patti Schaeffer, who was singing with the Springsteen band. But I'm not going to that part. If you want to find that information out, Google it. I don't like talking about other people's marital. It's none of my business. I feel uncomfortable doing it. That's basically the story behind it. His first marriage was in tatters. He was so he did this album about love, his relationships and stuff like that. So this is basically what this album was about. And it's just, like I say, a very stripped down Bruce Springsteen album, which was, I think, phenomenally good. I wouldn't put it in the top 5 of my favourite Springsteen albums, but it'll definitely be in the top 10, and it was just a great release. And this is the actual original copy I bought back in the day, by the way, and it's very sentimental to me. I absolutely love it. But yeah, really one of my prized possessions, if you like. Now let's go on to the concert release. As I explained before, a big tour followed, but unlike the studio album, the E Street Band, or they actually played on it. Clarence Clemons was playing, Patti Schaeffer, she was singing. I can't remember the guitarist, because you've got to remember, folks, we're talking about 32 years ago. What I do remember is the track listing and some of the songs I heard. Basically, this was the actual intro, Tunnel of Love and Boom Boom Boom. And also, when I saw them at Villa, they got into trouble because it was the loudest concert I've ever been to. I think they did get, I may be wrong, but they did get into serious trouble from it. Apparently you could hear it 4 miles down the road. And, you know, my spine and the back of my skull shook, but it was just 4 hours, best 4 hours of my life. But it was extremely loud. And basically, I won't keep holding this up, but you know what we're talking about, Bruce Springsteen. Basically what happened was, we went into the show, there's a lot of people there, and it was just mind-blowingly brilliant. The Tunnel of Love and the Boom Boom Boom, that was I forgot who originally released that. It wasn't one of Springsteen's, I don't think it was a Springsteen song anyway. They sort of introed the concert. Then all the best bits on this album are actually on the album. Now, on this particular show, or this particular tour, they did not play some of the big hits. Springsteen dragged out some of the less well-known songs of his catalogue and performed them in the show. The bigger mission was Born to Run, and I remember that. That was the only down thing. I would have loved to see Born to Run done in a Springsteen show. I had to wait about 7 years to the Lucky Town 2 CD shows before I'd actually see him perform it. There was also, I don't think they played Thunder Road either, which was another phenomenal Springsteen hit off Born to Run album. But what they did play was absolutely awesome. And one of the songs I can remember that was very obscure was Adam Raised the Cane. That was just phenomenal. It was just a brilliant song. And also The River as well, because when they play it now, they don't play it how it was written. They tend to balladize or play a lot of these songs as ballads. But it was just a mind-numbing show. Now, the 3 highlight songs of the show were Cover Me, and that was a perfect intro by Patti Schaeffer, and I love that song. It's one of my favourites by Bruce Springsteen. And the next big cover, the next big highlight of the show was War. Now, War was an Edwin Starr song. Edwin Starr actually came on the show and they did it as a duet. He's no longer with us either. And that was just absolutely amazing to see that, hear that song at a live show. because I haven't heard it in the recent shows for ages. I don't think they've performed it for ages. But the big one for me, which blew everything else out the water, was Spare Parts. Now, on the album, when they did Spare Parts, it was an acoustic album with Bruce Springsteen into the microphone. In this, it was the full Monty, electric guitars, and it was just outrageously brilliant. One of the best one of the best concert highlights I've ever seen. Sort of goes up there with the Stones when they played Paint It Black and my favourite song, 2000 Light Years. But it was just an amazing concert moment that you'd never be repeated, and it was just out of this world. Also, you got the Born in the USA as well, and that blew more people's eardrums because the introduction went on for ages. It was just funnily good. But yeah, there's not a bad track on there. There's All That Heaven Will Allow. That was actually on the album as well. Seeds, and a few more records on the album. And it was just a fantastic day. So I just thought I'd do a video and talk about it. Maybe this will be a thread where people will pull a studio album out, and if they went to a concert album, they'd listen, and sort of do a comparison. I like to hear Greg or Scott do some of these sort of videos, and how good they actually were. But it shocked me, because I've been doing this now for 2 years. I've done probably over 150 videos, and I've never ever done one with Bruce Springsteen until now. And he's one of my favourite artists of all time. It's just crazy. But I hope you've enjoyed this. This is a slight departure from what I normally do, but I'm not just a heavy metal fan. I like a lot of the sort of 70s rocks like Springsteen, Supertramp sort of stuff as well. It was massively influential in my life. Especially now as well, Springsteen's got a brand new solo album out, and it's definitely the best album since the 2002's Rising in my book. I've been listening to it on the YouTube, but because in the UK we're sort of locked down, and with what's going on in the world, I've just got a bit behind. Should have bought it a few weeks ago, because when I buy a Springsteen album, there's sort of a ceremony involved where I go down my local town centre with a friend or something. We buy our records from a famous record store. We have a coffee in a coffee shop with a cake, discuss the album. It's just like a little ceremony I've done. And Springsteen and the Stones is one of the few artists as well I've actually kept up with as his new releases have come out. I bought them. But yeah, it's just a fantastic record. But sorry folks, that was the wrong CD. But anyway folks, to summarise, this is a brilliant Springsteen release, easily in the sort of top 10 to top 12. If you don't like it, don't write it off. And if you want to hear what I call stripped down, I'm not talking about naked, but stripped down Springsteen at his best, this is the record to go for. Some may argue maybe Nebraska was classic Springsteen sort of 70s stuff, but counter argue that with me. But I think this album's a really good one. Anyway folks, enjoy your Sunday. I hope it started better than mine, and love each other folks. I know the world's all going to hell in a handbasket, but just keep loving each other folks. We'll get through it, and don't forget, we're wetter.